Okay, primary and secondary production's done, and no order changes, of course. We have our first raft, so yellow's going to be the first guy to get a jump on, building a mine or whatever, but he may not be the quickest to get it because the raft only can carry 3 items, whereas the rowboat can carry 5. The mine needs 4 items, so I've got to make 2 trips. I'll be able to sail out 1, 2, 3, but that's as far as I can move with that yellow rowboat. But it does give me, I think, a little bit of a jump on everybody else at this point. Over here we've got new technology with the rowboats. Over here, these guys, green over here, produced their first paper, so they're way behind the people producing the paper. But I think this rowboat could have been built a little earlier had conflicts not started up. You can see earlier during the building phase, Blue put a barrier here. Not a big deal, not the kind of attack that these barriers were. More of a, you really shouldn't be coming into my territory. This is kind of neutral. You want to put a block there, that's fine, but you want to put a block on my side of it, and it starts getting uglier. And also to slow down or prevent any kind of raids happening there. Of course, there's a big roadway coming through here, so who knows how that'll go. I don't think anybody's in any great hurry to run and grab materials the way things stand, so I don't think there's going to be any bidding for going first at this point, or shifting of who's going first at this point. During movement, you can see we shifted some wood over here, kind of abandoning it. We're not too worried elsewhere. Building phase, not a whole hell of a lot. Blue built their rowboat over here. Now, it would have been interesting if, like with the paper, 2 powers were sharing a transport mechanism. That didn't work out. That could be a serious source of conflict, but also of cooperation, which could be of interest. Instead, we've got everybody kind of building their transport mechanism over on the far end. Wood's going to be pretty important here, though. And let's see, some roads were built. I think this road was built in. I'm not positive if that just... No, maybe it was this one. I don't know. Somebody built a road out there. But yellow is trying to get a road out to the paper. And they don't need it for their boat, but they will want it for future. There are some things in the future that require it. I think the biggie is if they need fuel for an oil rig, and if they want to do research for the improved mining. Not sure we're going to hit either of those at any point here. Taking a quick look, yellow could convert some of their wood into a victory point. They're going to do that. I could also pitch some geese in there, but I'm not terribly interested in doing that. So we'll get one of these, well, not really victory points, but victory brick. They're worth more than 1 each, probably, almost certainly. Black here also has that option. Unfortunately, the things I have here, or green does, the damn black geese confuse me. I don't really want to give up anything that I have there. Stones are too important. And logs turn into bunches of wood, so it doesn't seem like a good idea at this point. What about over here? Well, I need the 2 geese that I have here, and wood's too important to me to sacrifice, so this is where I've gone. Now, yellow is making up for their lack of donkeys at this point, and it's really kind of slowed them down a little bit. Otherwise, they could probably be pushing on ahead a little faster than they are. So, I guess that's all we have here. And we're definitely seeing, no sign of points coming from the board. And this is just growing and generating points. Yellow may end up winning simply because they've been more parsimonious course, some people have been cheating, so it's hard to tell. But if we just count the total number, let's see, they have 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Green actually has 6 of them. 5 for blue and 4 for black. We can't guarantee what the point value of them is, but it seems to be pretty steady, to tell you the truth, that there's about 3 of these per row, so they're worth about 3 points each. So I would say right now green's actually probably in the lead, assuming we don't start seeing the big jumps in points. The big jumps in points, even a gold is worth 10 points. So getting that mining going is definitely key if we can get it before the end of the game. So I don't think people are being terrible for ignoring the wonder. Production jump. Black gets another technology that they produce, which they used for the big pile of ore. So they'll get 5 iron and 5 gold in whatever mines they set up. Kind of a hard choice whether that's more important or the oil derrick. They're going to need fuel at some point soon. But I feel like we have a pretty strong capability for gaining technology over on this side of the board. There's just geese all over the place. Yeah. Because we managed them better. And so I feel like I can make the jump, get a couple extra resources. What I didn't want to do is just take hey, I'll take all gold. That's a good choice once you have your economy running, I guess. But at this point, I'm not going to be able to get the mints running without fuel, because a mint requires fuel to generate output. And so how am I going to get fuel? Well, I could build a little coal burner or something, but again, with the technology and everything, I think I can go ahead and keep running as I am. See where the movement takes us. So far, those initial conflicts largely have been decided to be too much of a pain in the ass in terms of the wall building. In terms of changing your bid there, hey, or your turn order, that doesn't really hurt you much. Turn no new building accomplished, just because people are. So here we have enough to do a production, and then we'll get a boat and be able to sail out. But we're not building any buildings, so we can't do anything there. Over here we have enough to build the rowboat factory, but we don't have the technology yet. We just set up for the technology. So here I'm transporting a rock over. I can pick up some sticks, 1, 2, 3, and drop stuff off, and we should be starting our mine pretty soon. But we're not getting a big jump over anyone else. That puts us to the production, and this is tough because I'd love to haul my sticks up, but I don't have any rocks or anything, so I don't have a road here, so I'm not going to be able to haul them very quickly. The danger, of course, is if I don't build these. So next turn I have 4 of these, and you'd say, that's 8. You'll be able to move a bunch at once. Yeah, except I won't. I'll only be able to build 6 of them, but I can leave one of the sets of logs behind, so somebody else can process them on a later turn. One of my guys, hopefully. So I think it's worth paying for one of these victory slots. Green could pay. They don't want to, and no one else can. The timer ticks on. Production accounts for some more tech. Again, the mining bonus, same one Black took. And now a rowboat over here. Other than wood being generated, etc., I'm trying to think if anything else exciting happened. I can't think of too much. What about movement? Well, does anybody feel like they really need to get the jump on movement? I don't think so. The competition for resources in these central spaces just hasn't panned out as that big a deal. We actually have excess resources being created over here that people aren't able to drag around. Now, yellow's up to their max dunkage, so things might get a little bit more crowded over there. But things got mellow here. Of course, the rowboats were expensive to build, so we may see a little bit more effort to grab those resources. At the very least, they can be hauled back home and scored on there to some extent. It's hard to get enough moving. Maybe there's room, somebody's going to start building trucks or something and running them back and forth to score points up there. Construction, most of it pretty basic, some roads being built, and you can see my roads are kind of shaky for whatever reason, whatever. But over here, here's the interesting one. We got the first mine being built. That's 3 wood and a rock. Now, I could have waited until I got some better technology, but I don't want to. And I'm actually getting another raft being built automatically next turn. I don't build it. Oh, shit, I can't do that. All right, I got to leave somebody behind to build that raft because otherwise it won't go to me. Okay, so the way the mine gets built is we got mine number 13 here. If bag number 13 has been labeled, not the guy who owned it before me didn't label all his bags. There it is. We'll grab this. Now this is part of the lamest part of the game, in my view. So now we get 3 gold. It's the clear plastic bag, and 3 iron. Now some people use little foam canisters, I hear. But again, you know, that if you're building, I don't know how many you need. You probably don't need the 20 or whatever that they give you numbers for. But for most players, you probably need at least 10 or so of them. You know, you have to put together a fair amount of stuff to get these numbers in. And then these are going to go in the bag. And during production, one of them gets drawn at random, and it'll be the mine growth there. And we'll put that there. These guys are going to be in the bag, and the bag will be put somewhere, you know, near the guy who's mining or whatever. And you can see I drew a gold, which may be the less valuable commodity at this moment. Getting an iron would have been more useful, maybe. It's kind of hard to tell. Iron's useful if I need to re-drill that shaft, and I need fuel with it. And iron's also useful for the trucks and big steamships. So those are reasons you might want to get iron instead. Gold, well, I can stockpile it. I'll have things to do. Now, secondary production's interesting because green and yellow are in a contentious situation here. There's one paper mill there. Yellow would really like it because they can crank out their research immediately if they do it. But actually, with that goose there, green could too. So I think green is going to move their prayer marker. And that means only black has a right to trump them. Let's see if black... It's not really done as trumping. Black has no real interest in jumping. So green's going to move to the end of the line. And now they'll be going in the first position instead of blue. And you can see now I have to worry I'm no longer, you know, following a strict clockwise order anymore. It starts to get jumbled, and that's going to cause me some issues. But that'll allow them to generate a paper and thus another research eating this goose, because geese are yummy. But that allows me to grab also the bigger mines. My building phase, I forgot to build a rowboat here. I don't know, the rowboat factory. So I'm gonna jump in and take that out of the way. I don't think I have enough wood there collected to build an actual rowboat. I'm still 1 back. That's the same problem blue has. Another turn to shift it up, but I don't want to get screwed yet another turn because I didn't build it yet. I don't think it would have an actual effect as long as I had a dude there, which I would need for the rowboat anyway, so whatever. The biggest building happened for Black. They built their own mine. They have the technology, so they got 5 of each in there. It gives their mine a little bit more lasting power, that's all. They also built a wall here, and they may be bidding or doing a quick shift to jump into first movement order to get themselves above blue so they get the paper. The competition for paper is becoming pretty big. I really want to be able to do more research, and it's kind of important again because blue dragged a goose along with them. You know, it's hard not to do this because you go in there and you say, well, I can do my research right away if I have my goose with me, because geese are very smart and they're good at research. But the problem is that yes, you could pack the goose on the back of the mule, but then, or donkey, but then you don't have room for enough to make the paper. Actually, I needed 2 geese with me, so moving that one there didn't do me any good in terms of the speed. So Black may not be racing this. They could have grabbed their own goose when they moved in. I think they're going to do that. I think we're going to have a big dinner there. And yeah, so otherwise it's kind of hard to tell, because by concentrating on that, it means I'm not going to get another rowboat, so I'm not going to be able to move as quickly. But yeah, no, rowboats are pretty fast. I'm able to move a fair amount into place. I'm not too terribly worried about it. What I'm more worried about actually is getting that fuel operating, so that once I start getting gold, I can make coins, I can start making some real money. And then, of course, after the coins, I got to go to the stock exchange, which takes a lot of bricks. Now, bricks have been being used up. I kind of, building this, and they're kind of rare here, so it may be hard to get the to get a stock certificate out, but it's our goal to get 1 or 2 of those. What about converting stuff? I don't think so. I think I need my crap too much to grab a point. Oh, green has to make first choice. Green could kill a goose. Green also is looking at the technology problem, though. Of course, we've got 2. Yeah, green's gonna grab one. And let's see, then blue is not, yellow cannot, and black doesn't really want to. So that's another white one here. As time continues to pass. All right, another corrections here. The animals, I've been having them reproduce as long as there's no building present. Well, that's not sufficient. The only way to manage them to reproduce is if there's nothing else present. No other transports, no goods there, nothing. I honestly have no idea. This game has just completely stymied me in terms of rules. I always have trouble with rules, but this one, I look at the rules and they seem clear and clean and easy, but they're just not sticking at all. And I don't know, I guess it's because animals will fuck whether there's a building or a cart there or whatever. No, I have no idea. I'm leaving this as it is and continuing on. I don't think it has too much of an effect. It certainly would affect the solo scenario if I ended up playing that, because you're aiming at a certain score. But here, hey, honestly, any of the rules, as long as you apply them consistently, you could change a little bit and it wouldn't have too much effect on what you're seeing in terms of play, in terms of the type of play. So the game is a puzzle with a certain kind of thinking. it's a changing puzzle based on, you know, what the board is going to be, but it's largely a puzzle with some conflict in it, and that's not going to change based on whether geese, you know, can reproduce in a building or not. Anyway, that's all I had to say there. Production, and yeah, we have mines working. We see green built their rowboat, blue built their rowboat, black jumped ahead with their bidding. They did the thing they wanted to, so they could grab another research. They took the oil derrick. They're definitely in the lead in the research capability, and you know, they want to keep it that way. So spending an action, it's harder for blue to spend an action to move ahead at this point in some ways. Not really. They've fallen pretty close to the top. The only thing that could compete with them is yellow could say, yeah, I want to go first. And so far yellow and green haven't been competing much since very early in the game. We get these walls here, but they're more of a defensive thing. The things green and yellow were doing were very offensive. Anyway, I guess it's time to figure out movement. I don't think there's going to be any big conflicts there. Basically, the big reason is we're getting rich in resources. Wood, brick, none of that's really, really rare anymore. So now the hard part is getting this stuff over to the islands and positioning it correctly. One thing we're going to see is yellow, when they get around to their turn, but they go last, they're definitely going to load a mule up. They're planning on, because they have the rafts and they don't have as much mobility over the water, they're going to try to start building a road network over here, and that kind of puts a threat on anyone else who's relying just on ships, because the donkeys can like steal ore and move it around. So you have to make sure that you're going to win the ore competition on any given turn, because that is becoming the important resource. Other people may start doing the same thing. Everyone else was kind of relying on their boats and kind of saying, well, you know, I can only hit the ones on my water, but that's a lot of them. Black used their first move to do a serious theft of geese from over here. They just went in, grabbed them, put them on their cart, and drove them back. This gives them a lock on the next point of research as well, simply because, well, blue could trump in to grab the paper, in which case black can't get the research, but they've dragged away the geese for the research, which is pretty big. I'm starting, because the order is getting out of whack enough, to mark who went in any given phase over there. Important factor, if you trade with people, if you drop goods off for people to pick up, you can move things more quickly. But if you don't do that, and I haven't seen any of that happening here, but I'm open to the possibility of it happening. But if you don't do that, you can't chain goods. So for example, I couldn't move these boards up to here and then pick them up on my boat. I'd have to wait till the next turn for my transporter to be able to move them. However, I could work out deals where we could move goods long distances between players. So there's actually an opening here. Now, in this scenario, because everybody's kind of self-sufficient, there's less need for it. But there is a way to design the game where maybe certain resources, to design the board, where certain resources might be able to be traded, where one person has a strength in one position and another has a strength in another position, so that instead of competing for them and running in and trying to grab them, you can actually work together and find a central point like here where you could trade things. The problem with it is you can't have someone in a position where they're, you know, really missing certain key goods. Fuel and the metals could be apart from each other. where one person has a strength in one or the other. It's also possible, although I don't know how you do this, to like well, you could have one person with a lot of pasture around them where they could generate a decent number of geese, and trading in geese might even be important. The problem is there aren't a lot of resources, and a few of them are very, very vital. So, wood and stone, those have to be available at least in some quantity. Now, stone is always going to be available as long as there's water nearby. Coastline, I think rivers don't count. But wood, if you don't have wood near you, you're just screwed. If you don't have a forest near you, you can't start the game. So that's always got to be present. I'm trying to look for something kind of similar here to after the Holocaust's desire for trade that crops up due to imbalances in the economies. Would it be possible to build it? Would it not possible? Would it be advantageous to generate an economy that's not because of the terrain necessarily, but is still leveraged to build one sort of thing? Is there an economy of scale there? And I'm not seeing that in any sense in this, where you'd want to focus on one sector other than the other, except when it comes to technology. One thing that's kind of sad, though, is you can't trade transporters. So, if I can build trucks, I can't get anything for those trucks. I can't send a truck over to you and let you have it in exchange for some goods that you drop off. That kind of saddens me a little. After movement and building, a lot of roads being built, including this one here, and a lot more connectivity being forced through. One thing I'm noticing is these boats off to the side. I'm kind of glad I built them way out there, because once you get a boat, maybe you want another one, but you really don't need a lot in this scenario. We'll see. Probably the raft builder is probably the one who needs the most in the way of boats, just because his boats are slower and carry less. Although, by setting up some transport capability so that he can, move throughout the land itself over there, he may be in better shape. And with his dominance of the land over here, and blue heading this way, green maybe as well, it may well end up that yellow's actually got kind of a nice setup here where everybody's left him alone. We'll see. I'm sure we're going to see rowboats raiding these spaces if yellow's using them. In terms of the wonder, you can see nobody built towards it. It's just nobody had excess boards available. Oh, yeah, I forgot. This was something I wanted to do. Blue is demolishing that wall. I intended that to happen. I'll dig that out on my own. For production, blue trumped in so that they could go first, build their own paper. However, because black kept the geese on board a donkey, blue has to work their way back. Otherwise, blue could have brought geese with them, but if they did, then black could maybe have taken them or something. It's just always so dangerous to try to figure out what you want to do. In this case, it also would have depleted my goose repopulation effort down here. So I can't make up for that theft of geese that black instituted. Elsewhere, well, we can see that I'm not going to be able to move the wood. I'm not going to be able to move enough materials here easily. I got 2 wood and a stone I need to move. All I have is 1 donkey there. I wish I had brought a second one, but so I'm not going to be able to set up another mine. The focus on mining may mean that, hey, maybe I have to build something like a wagon a wagon factory at some point to really get the amount of movement capability that I want, or else move another donkey over. Now, when you load up, look at this. There's what you can load on a transport, and you can put donkeys on board boats. Somewhere this is spelled out, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure where the limit is. Oh, carrying transporters. Any transporter can carry another transporter. It can't move one that's moved on its own already. So it doesn't seem like there's a limit, which kind of makes some sense, you know. I can break down a boat and carry it aboard donkeys. Maybe not so much with a steamship, but, you know, if for some reason I want to do that, I guess it might make some sense. I mean, certainly you could break it down into sheets, etc. It's just, it seems like the numbers are wrong, right? If I've got enough donkeys in a donkey counter that I can carry a steamship, I've got too many donkeys to put on a raft or a fleet of rafts or a steamship for that matter. Whatever it is that I'm carrying is presumably smaller than what's carrying it, so I shouldn't be able to flip them around and reverse that, but the game doesn't take that into account. Anyway, so now we go into the movement phase. Movement, very unlikely that we'll see a bid there. I'm just not seeing any reason for that yet, but maybe when we come to buildings, I doubt that as well. Usually let the other guy build stuff if he wants to, if he's hauling the goods there. If the goods are just laying there, maybe you want to control what the building is, but I don't see too much reason that people would really oppose each other on that. You know, like let's say somebody wanted to build an oil derrick. Well, it doesn't matter who builds it, right? If somebody wanted to build a mint where it's close to other people's stuff, hey, I might get to use that bonus, right? Movement resulted in some thieving and some building. Thieving, for example, here, where yellow moved in here, grabbed the rock from there, ended up building this, and then has taken possession of the boards that are there. This wall, not that big a deal, but, you know, creates some problems for green, maybe. I don't know how much of an effect that is, especially if I get another rowboat going over there, because, you know, there's so much road connection now that I can move the stuff down in this direction. But to put a barrier in the way, what the hell, you know? It's a resource. So I would have grabbed the rock if I wanted to, but I kind of didn't like leaving the board there. So I grabbed the boards instead and created the rock as that. We see some mines being built still. More and more of them being built, actually. One thing to realize is that the Wonder, which everybody except Blue built towards this time, is very clearly being shown to be not a terribly valuable way to expend resources. It's fine to spend, you know, a couple extra boards or whatever that you have. That's what people did this turn. But I think focusing even moderately on it is just too dangerous. Maybe if you went all out on it and nobody else did, you could end the game before other people got their minds going. But 1 gold is worth an entire row on this board. So, hey, you know, it's going to take, if you're the only person working at it and you haven't kind of optimized your entire economy to just produce lots and lots of goods. For example, if you had a couple of sawmills just channeling lumber into your house, maybe you could race that thing and push it so that it beats somebody. But this scenario looks fairly easy. I don't think you're going to come out ahead. I think just on gold production, people keep up with you, and if they can up that to coins or the stock certificates, they're going to come out ahead. I'm just not feeling that was a viable choice. So I feel pretty good that none of my players took that. I was a little worried that it might look more appealing than it does. Sadness for me, these stupid little bags that come with the mines, the copy that I have, and who knows what else is missing from it, but it's missing some of the numbers. Now, I'm missing some bags, period, because obviously not everything was filled out here. But I'm also missing some of the bags that apparently whoever owned this numbered with it. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. For example, there aren't 20-something mountains here, and maybe that's what the person decided to some extent was, hey, I'll snag some of the extra bags out of here and use them for other games, just because I'm never going to play a game of this big enough. An observation. A lot of what this game feels like, for some strange reason, and there are little places where it kind of makes sense, but overall I don't think it does, is the fox hen bag of seed type trick. You're like trying to balance out, oh, I'm going to move this here, but I got to leave this behind. Oh, but somebody might eat it. Not one of your geese aren't going to eat your wood or something like that, but it is possible some other player is going to eat your stuff, and you kind of have to be careful where you're balancing things out, etc. And it's especially going to get ugly as these mines are becoming more accessible to everyone. It's not such a big deal to grab some wood or something that's laying around that nobody's using, but here's some iron. Terribly valuable? I don't know. Nobody's producing it. Other people have the capacity to produce it, but they've chosen to produce the big bag of 5 each. Well, they really haven't had the choice. Nobody's taken the technology to be able to make an exclusive mine. Blue, for example, now that they've set up a second mine, other players might be thinking, well, it would be best to concentrate on gold and get that producing. Of course, it might be hard to keep up with getting boats to all your gold and getting it all trapped, and then you have to figure out how to store it. Yeah, maybe you can hide it way away in a corner, but it's really not that inaccessible. So if you build enough of it up, you will probably tempt someone to make a raid on your gold. So otherwise, you have to keep it on board your transporters. And, well, donkeys aren't the best things to hold stuff on. Obviously, what you want is one of the big guys, especially those huge ships, just as storage facilities, because otherwise your stuff might get stolen. It's on the production level. A couple of interesting things maybe sort of happened. Black got another research this time. They went for the deeper wells or the bigger mines. More shafts, that's what it is. Having trouble. And I'm actually considering herding up all the geese and compacting them over there, because I think I can hurt Blue a lot by taking geese away from them. Of course, if I build my oil derrick over here, that makes life hard on Blue if they can't get one, but it may make life hard on me too as they try to get to mine. Alternatively, they might try to get geese from somewhere else if I can wipe them out, and they do have some back here. So probably their easiest way of doing things is to just try to fashion them themselves. They have a paper here, but I'm just thinking, I don't really need geese anymore. I toyed with the idea of either a steamship or a truck, but there's nowhere to build it. That's the problem. I mean, I could build a steamship over here. I don't know how much that helps me. It would be great, but someone else could use it then, right? And a truck, it would take up one of my 2 spaces that I've reserved for my mint and my my stock market, if I can get that far. And by the way, the payoff for those isn't necessarily that big either. You go from gold, which is worth 10, it looks like, 40 for coins, but it takes 2 gold to make a coin, so you're doubling the value. And then likewise, it's even worse going from coins to the stock market, because it takes two of those coins, and that's $80. So you're only adding the value of the coins, which is what you were adding with the gold, the value of the gold. But actually, no, you're adding the value of both the gold that you're adding. Here, you're only gaining 50%. So yeah, someone else tucked, yellow tucked, and they built or received the tuck for the oil well. This is a big deal because they're maybe end up as raiders of other people's mines because of that. Nobody played with the turn order on that phase, which means we think about whether or not anybody needs it for movement. And it's starting to get complicated enough that it's hard to tell. Do you need to run in and grab something? Is there something that you really need to do? And it's tough. It really is. So like, blue's in first place there in the turn order, but does black need to beat them out? I don't know. How about green? Do they need to beat yellow out for a move? Is there something they really want to grab? There's all this iron here. What am I going to do with all that? That's one of the big questions here. I don't have a great answer. I guess I can haul it home and use it to build bricks for the wonder. But other than that, there's plenty of things that are easier than that to haul. It looks pretty questionable unless somebody wants to go to the trucks or you know what it's important for? It's important, I think, it's important for the new mine shafts. They take iron and fuel. So leaving it out here is useful. Blue's got this stupid donkey I brought across, and he doesn't have a whole hell of a lot he can do, but maybe he'll get a thieving opportunity, who knows. And a few new things show up. Yellow builds a mine. They also built the first oil derrick out there. Yeah, it just looks like one of those other production buildings. The mines are the only ones that look weird. I don't know why they did these suckers. They are awfully big. Easy to knock over, I would guess. Let's see. Other than that, a lot of wonder production here. A little bit of roads. Blue building one there. Blue built 2. That was expensive. That cost them $5. 2 plus 3. Green and black each built 1. This, we've already discussed, it means that the deserts are now pastures. Doesn't mean much unless you want to move donkeys or geese there, but whatever. And beyond that, nothing really. But you can see we're making, a lot of ground on this, which kind of makes it tougher to get to that. Hey, are we gonna get a stock certificate out, or are we gonna get coins even out? But it's not like I count on myself being particularly competent. I'm just trying to look at the game, really. No conflict during production, although we do have our oil coming out. Some gold is showing up, and that means there will be conflict during movement. Yellow is going to force it, and black as well, because black will lose this gold if blue gets to sail out. So they're also going to stop praying, and that means we reorder. They trump over because they went first. They were the first in position, and that means we end up with this ordering. And that's a big deal because yellow is going to be able to steal this gold. And at the end here, we get the first mints showing up. Getting ready to be used, actually. And wow, I don't know if black did the right thing. They converted a wood and a goose. See, wood is becoming very, very valuable because of the paper and because of the possibility of a need for more rowboats. But anyway, they converted a wood and a goose. They also don't really need the technology, so they don't mind wasting the goose on that. I'm just not burning the geese. I could have burned 2 geese in a wood and gotten another point over there on that thing, but I chose not to go whole hog on that. Only green and black put points in. But yeah, the need for more boats is becoming obvious, especially as more mines are showing up. We need more capability to grab the things that are being produced. But yeah, I think we're probably on our way that we'll see some paper being, some stock certificates being issued at some point. We are seeing that the game's gotten a lot more thieving. And, you know, there's questions of, did Green want to use this to build a wall somewhere? Because it's a real pain in the butt to take walls out from sea. And it's not even easy to take them out on the islands. You have to ship this stuff and walk your way there. So that center land is not going to be the most trivial place to engage. But that's what we got. Primary production especially, but the production in general is becoming kind of tedious at this point. There's a lot going on this board. I guess with each person handling their own, it's nowhere near as much. One thing that's interesting, this mine's tapped out. That doesn't make it go away. The only way to resurrect it is to send, a fuel and an iron into it and have the proper technology. I think we had one technological research going on, which Blue over here, who actually built another paper, they are now going to be able to build an oil derrick. And, well, we'll see what people are capable of doing, but there's a lot of competition between, building up your own stuff and trying to grab riches. So we may well see some bidding on the movement. Currently, Green has first shot. Are they really gung-ho about reaching anything? Not terribly. So Green is probably going to pass on their option to go first. What about Blue? Well, Blue has a worry here, which is this is exposed. That's a gold. That's too valuable to let go. So I'm going to go with a bid. And Black's already in second place, and it's not really in competition with Yellow. So we're just going to see this shift, or it's not in did I say not? It's not in competition with Yellow. And now we have this positioning. And you can see, the longer you can hold out and not have to compete, the better position you are for when the competition happens. And that's kind of a neat little mechanism in place. Nobody had to compete for the production because everybody was off on their own. Often as I'm taking my turns, I miss something and have to correct it. So in this case, Yellow had enough research capable before they moved that they could actually set up so that they can improve that mine during the build phase. I could take the technology for it I had kicking around. So I went ahead with that. It's just something where, I had a goose covering paper and didn't see what was going on, but I had already set it up before. Build phase. That mine indeed was re-energized since we have the technology for it now. And little defensive wall, a road, not a lot going on in terms of building stuff. I can't afford to wall with this because it costs an extra point of wall to do it from water. Maybe 2, I'd have to look that up, but I think it's just 1. Black slaughtered a whole bunch of geese and threw some iron and other stuff in. Get themselves 2 spaces here and then white here. And, trying to push things on while grabbing victory points because it feels like we're kind of getting in trouble here with the gold that Blue stole from us. And they're sweeping into our mines and all kind of annoying stuff like that. Of course, Green and then black have the next trump capability. But as soon as you trump, it means you've handed the opportunity to the next player, to the person you're fighting against, basically, the person who just beat you. Now they have the advantage on you. So that's, on the luck of the draw, blue saw a bunch of gold out there, had the opportunity, went for it. It could happen again with, with black getting the other side of the same advantage. Right, here through the secondary production phase, a lot of crap being produced, actually, but nobody went for the race. The only thing that was available was an iron over here that was up for any kind of contention, and it really wasn't. Nobody wanted it, and black had space, blue did not. We did have something interesting, though. 2 levels of technology over here for green. Their grab for geese has greatly goodified. No. Pardon me, I was alliterating. Anyway, all those geese, they really did steal the geese out from yellow's nose and were able to get just about everything that they might possibly want. I might want a steamship, maybe, but as it stands, I don't really need it. And everything else I might possibly want, redigging mines, being able to put just gold in the mine, because iron is apparently pretty easily available at this point, with the way people have gone. And let's see, I think there was something else of interest going on. Somebody else grabbed a technology. Blue got their oil rig technology up. And now we got to think about movement. Is there anything grabbable out there? There's a gold here, which blue has the jump on. If yellow took it, they'd be foregoing this one, or maybe the oil, or other gold that they have to haul. So I don't think they really want to trump in at this point. How does black feel? Actually, green has the first option to trump in. Do they want to get a jump on? They have a big boat with a bunch of gold already on it. It is their only boat, which is somewhat of a problem, except that they're not going to be able to build their oil well at this point. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, I could grab an oil. 5 land here, but I couldn't get anything useful there. So I have the feeling that I'm probably going to be able to get an oil or a gold if I really want it. And I don't really need either, because eventually I will be able to build that oil well, although the way black's cranking out wonder pieces, it's hard to tell for sure. And if I get one, there's no reason I can't get more than one. There's a lot of water out there. Oil is going to be a very easy resource to produce, as opposed to making clay and trying to bake it. Or I could take wood and burn it. That's not a bad choice. There's a lot of wood around too. The problem is spaces to do it in. I would have to use a vital space for most of these players. Ooh, truck there. Yeah, but it helps green as much as anyone else. It's like, it just can't. The burner could go there, because fuel is easier for yellow to get. So, yeah, and you can have wood burning trucks. Well, coal burning trucks. Stanley steamers. So yeah, I don't really see anyone desperately wanting to go ahead of someone else here. The road networks here aren't rich enough that like blue could run up and grab that gold, and I'd have to leave this behind and get my boat over there, which is overloaded. Really kind of getting to there's too much good stuff out there at this point. Bricks are suddenly important again with blue, well, not just, with the stock exchange, which if that gets built, that requires 3 bricks to build. Now, they won't be important in the long run, but there's a shortage of bricks right now. Nobody's really ready to build their stock market right now, but they want to make sure they have the bricks stored up, which they've, kind of been loose with, throwing up walls, maybe burning them as monument pieces. Speaking of monument pieces, Black is the only person who had their one of their transports at their home area. So the only person who could have made a monument piece. They're kind of cursing having expended too much last turn because they just can't afford it this time. They can't afford to keep up with it. They need these wood that they have present to move forward. We got more oil showing up over here. The reason, this is kind of exposed, but who cares? The biggie is there's plenty of oil on the board now. It's hard to get to for some players. So building this is important for blue, but it's probably not too worthwhile for Black to go out of their way to grab, and obviously nobody else can. Likewise, green needs one kind of closer to themselves. But if blue and Black had built this one together, or if one of them had built it there early, they wouldn't both need to build it. There's no real reason to be, egalitarian in that sort of way in general, unless you have some sort of deal to work out. But it doesn't hurt to build it here at this point, rather than the other options, which involve not delivering stuff, a gold to where I needed it, etc. Oh, what else? I don't know. Yellow continues digging that mine deeper. Got a big bag of stuff there now. Green trumped in this time for what I think may have been a mistaken choice. Fairly minor gain to create a paper. They're not really worried about the technological race, but they are a little worried about the possibility of yellow getting a stock market. On the other hand, yellow is going to get a paper eventually. Worst comes to worst, well, yellow could build another paper mill here. That's really a possible choke point, but it's not one that green's going to be able to maintain consistently. On the other hand, green has these thoughts of creating research for a steamship, building one maybe over here or something, and getting a lot more production, a lot more movement capability from that in terms of transporting stuff, which could be an important rating position. But it's late in the game, and I feel like I wasted a trump position that could have stolen me some gold at some other point. Otherwise, secondary production, I guess the most interesting thing is we're starting to see some coins show up. Okay, almost no building going on, just a couple of seawalls here, which kind of carve out that green space a little better, I guess. Yellow had the only opportunity to build anything towards the wonder. They chose not to. We're seeing a big blank growing over there. The reason they didn't want to score the point when they could is they're really looking at building a stock market and don't really want to hurry things along too much. I don't know. I don't need those plans. Screw it. I think we're fine. Let's build it. I thought I needed planks for a stock market. I don't. I need planks for paper, but I should be able to get some of that. And I don't think green's going to have time, given that they haven't even built their oil well yet. And they need another boat to... I don't think green's going to get enough time to get to that steamer level at any value. We don't have the technology for it yet, so whatever. But at least we stole most of the geese, right? Yellow is not going to be able to get technology. I don't know what they're going to do with geese. Maybe they can hide them away and hope they get another one exposed somehow. Alrighty. Production-wise, seeing a couple of new rowboats coming out, and this is a big deal. The second boat for, this guy's been running 2 rafts for a little while, but a second rowboat is a pretty potent upgrade compared to anything he can do. I mean, he can just crank out rowboats and chain them and everything, I guess, but at any reasonable rate, if he's concentrating on building other things, those rowboats are not going to come out at a huge speed. So, we might see another 1 or 2. There's only 3 more left, right? So, yeah. No, he's got 3. Okay, so he's only got 2 more left. Where is his third rowboat? Jeez. Oh, I hope it's not on land. That would suck. Oh, shit. God damn it. Alright, well, I've been moving a rowboat as a donkey, which can't really happen. I'm not sure how to replace that. I think what I'm going to do is flip it over and figure out some way of fixing that. But that's pretty heinous, really. Makes up for this donkey. Yeah, I can't. And it may be part of why Yellow's catching up. They just built it. They used it once. All they did was really transport this stuff. So I'll tell you what. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to put a rock on it. I'm going to replace 2 of these wood with a log and call that good. It may not be fixing the whole issue, but I think it's largely taking it into account. And kind of screws their movement for last turn, at least partially. Are we going to have a movement race? So, there's some reason. Black, for example, is worried about this being taken. So I think they're going to trump. Yellow does not see any great reason to run. Blue, are we really worried about green? No. So I guess all we're going to see, and that's the thing, it's all relative, right? Because black wants to go ahead of everyone. Hey, that's great. That's one of the advantages of being in that position. But blue beating green means almost nothing. Yeah, green could get in here, but they're just not in conflict. So he's not going to trump against that. I don't think this game is going to progress long enough to get to a point where people are struggling with distant neighbors. You'd need to have a lot of transport for that to happen. And I think the game would get pretty silly if everybody was competing and it just became a who gets to grab the resources this turn, or do they pass on their opportunity to trump it and give the guy before them a second chance simply because there's nothing within their reach. All right, so a couple more mints came online. I think black had theirs already. I'm not sure. But basically everybody has one now. Nobody has a stock market yet. Blue spent a couple of wood on a wonder piece. And really, the more I'm seeing with this is a game about very little mistakes, or can become very big. Obviously, early on, you screw something up and you're going to be behind by a turn or two, and that's really the case with a lot of games. But here, if you didn't quite plan your production route right, if you make a small mistake and get cut off like Yellow did, cheating with your boats, dragging it over land, and you could put it on a donkey. It's not bad. Wouldn't do you any good. You can't end up where it is. You can't place it on the tile directly like I had it. But I also couldn't sail over the road the way I must have. Yeah, some small mistakes like that can really cut into what your supply line is going to be and where you're going to go. And then there's other things that, you know, are less clearly going to be an issue, but I think the majority of the game is figuring out your plan, obviously, is a big deal, but then actually successfully implementing it, not screwing some little bit up somewhere. And that's going to be very frustrating for me in a lot of playing of this. There's something I like about the chaining of supply and all this, but and I have to admit it's easier than some games that are this sort of supply analytics. So I guess the thing that I'd compare this to the most is actually good old After the Holocaust here. You have to balance more numbers in your head at once with After the Holocaust. Here you have a nice visual representation of what's going on. And After the Holocaust you have a really, really painful... Well, first of all, you have what seems like an impossible task in front of you in that. Here, you know, somebody's going to win this, right? After the Holocaust, your minimal level of victory to it seems out of reach. And it could well be a little bit of bad luck, and it is. Here you pretty much can say, yeah, you know, I should be able to reach this. If you set your goals, you can pretty much get to them. The thing, though, is like, you know, that truck thought. That cost me some effort, probably. And now I'm not sure it's necessarily out of, you know, I'm not sure how much it hurt me, but I'm kind of abandoning that idea after having thunk about it a little bit. And the thinking process involved an opportunity cost, not just in the thinking, maybe supplanting something else, but I actually moved some resources around in a slightly different manner than I would have otherwise. So I've got like this rock and this wood here. They may end up coming into play and being valuable, especially since I don't seem to have figured out my oil problem. I think I've got it set up here. Yeah, I've got an oil rig there that's ready to be built. But green is definitely falling behind, even though they have that huge tech leap. You know, and grabbed all the geese, right? Geese that were created through cheating. Ooh, boy. Yeah, this video is going a bit long. I'm going to send this one up because I think we've got a decent amount of play left. Mainly because people aren't building a lot of wonder. There's too much of value to be done at this point in the game to just score points on the wonder.